Edison made a light bulb, and then Tesla came along with the alternating current, and Morgan liked that because you could run that along the lines. You can't run a 12-volt system along lines like that.
No, you can't run 12 volts. Your DC current in any voltage, you can't run it more than about 20 miles, if I'm not mistaken. And then it just kind of starts to fizzle out. The alternating current can go distances up to like 120 or more miles. And you can run into a station and step it back up, step the tire back up, bring it in, let it build up, and step it back up, and send it back out on the lines again. That's the neat thing about alternating current. And the neat thing about what we're trying to do, what I've done, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build a model this time that nobody will be able to see basically how it works, but they can see that it does work. And if I wasn't trying to keep it sort of like under wraps where people couldn't see it, I could pick up the stuff from the wrecking yard like I've done already and put it together. And I still would need a lathe for some parts of it, and a welder, a plasma torch to cut some sites with, and some basic tools like that. I wouldn't need to go through the depths of making a shield to cover the parts on the outside, inside, and the part that moves. There's only one moving part on the whole thing. But it has no bearings, no bushings, no brushes, nothing like that. It doesn't work by the fundamentals and principles that everybody's designed everything to work where it wears out. It don't ever wear out. But, if somebody comes to your house to take it and you bought one, you can push a button on it and it will disintegrate itself. And I'd give you a free one to replace it just to make sure that the government didn't get your hand one. So it'll come with a warranty. If you have to disintegrate yours, okay, you get another one free.
Now, Russell, this if you could buy a unit, even if it was up in for a couple of thousand, and I don't really think that's necessary.
No, it shouldn't be more than $2,500 or $2,000 when they're done and working. It shouldn't be more than that.
But that $2,500 will power. You won't get an electric bill for $100 every month. You would probably get a check back from the electrical company for $100.
For about $600 to $500 every month. So when I ran mine, the third one I built, and I had it in the garage, and I was running it in my shop. It was a shop, there was a garage that was attached to the house, and it was deep, so I could put all my cars and stuff in there to work on and stuff, and build motors at home, and then take them and put them in the back of the truck and haul them over to my performance shop, where I can put them in the race cars and stuff. Well, I had some of the basic machine tools and stuff there at the house, drill press, a mill, a lathe, and I had my plasma cutter, and a nice MIG welder there and stuff, who I could do real good welding jobs of making brackets and stuff, and anything I need to make for a race car, and or anything I wanted to make just for making kind of thing. And I built it up out of all, like I said, all junk scraps that everybody has in the wrecking yard, and I put it all together, and I probably had about $200 probably total in it once it was all together and running, but I put some extra pieces on it so I could shut it down in the event that this one was built to see how fast it could go. Because I've been in racing for so long, I just got to see how fast something can go. And I took it up and I revved it up, and I wasn't thinking about the power output that I took and was bleeding into my house. And it kept on going faster and faster, and I had a window that had some bulletproof glass and some steel mesh going through it so I could look inside of it, and it had a strobe light in it that was helping to count the revolutions per minute. And it got beyond revolutions per minute where it would be like 1,000 to 2,000 revolutions per second, which is about 60,000 RPMs or 120,000 RPMs. But it was somewhere up in that range. The counter couldn't count it. It stopped being able to count somewhere around 45,000 RPMs.
I would hazard a guess here that when you get something moving that fast and creating that kind of revolutions, that it's got a field around it that is probably very detectable, huh?
It's got a field around it that's not only detectable if you know how to detect it, but it's also protects it. You know, it can be, the more you generate the field around it, the more power you dump into that field, because it makes plasma energy around it. It becomes more dense. It's like the electromagnetic field around the Earth. You know, we got an EM field around the Earth that protects us from solar waves and solar storms, and even from cosmic particles and asteroids and meteorites. It helps sometimes deflect that stuff. You know, but you know, it depends on what the polarity is. I mean, if it's light fields to each other, I mean, it's going to repel the object. If it's opposites, it's going to attract the object into our atmosphere. So it'll help it burn it up quicker too, you know, at the same time. But this thing, when I first started running it, I ran it up the first time. I had to shut it back down and turn it around where it was spinning away because it got lighter, and it was starting to pull, you know, 1-inch diameter, you know, bolts up to 18 inches of concrete and rebar and plate steel. That was a big old piece of plate steel, and the bottom for the vice stand where I could lock an engine in the stand and run it. And it was starting to pull that up out of the concrete. I could see it. You know, I could see the bolts starting to have powder around them and vibrating. The thing was vibrating. It was tough trying to come up. It was hitting up and down. But you know, it was running smooth inside because it's, you know, it's like a gyroscope. It just keeps itself stable as it can be. But it had lifters, so I had to shut it down, and I let it cool. I shot some CO2 into the chamber. It was inside a 20-inch by 20-inch by 10-inch steel box. So you go 20 by 20 by 20 inch cube, and 10 inches high. You know, that's what it was inside of, with a window on the side, and it had power output leads where I hooked my like welding leads, and I hooked them in the house where I could just feed the energy into the house and then out to the grid, and it just went out in the grid. And I ran it up the other way. I went up the other way, the power was coming out just fine, and it was up at about 260 volts into the house, and the house is a breaker box, and the house wasn't using it all. But I know one thing: the lights in the garage started getting really bright. And I started realizing before the tubes were glowing, even the ones were glowing that were just standing there that weren't even plugged in. I was thinking about that the other day, the ones that were in a stand where they'd be protected, they were glowing inside their cardboard boxes. So it's creating a lot of electromagnetic or electric energy around it. And, you know, as somebody said, well, last time when I was doing this, they said, well, how much did I need to put one together? Well, right now, to put one together, I would be looking at, about 10 grand to put it together. Even though I could put it together for really cheap, I got to set up a shop where I can do it in, where I'm not going to somebody else's facility and using their stuff where they can see what I'm doing. And this way I can use the tools, the machine, the case cover on it, and everything else, and set it up with some magnesium in it, where in the event somebody tries to run off with it, it can melt itself down. So it just melts itself down and destroys itself real quick. Once magnesium goes off, it's harder than heck to put out if you can. And I've experienced a lot of that with race cars and race car wheels that were actually made out of magnesium and other parts that we used that we found out it wasn't a good combination. But anyway, it works. It works very efficiently. You can sit there and let it run. I let it idle for a long time at right around 15,000 to 20,000 RPM, and was putting out more power than house needed. The lights were glowing in the garage bright, and the power was being sent back out through the meters I didn't know about. And at the time, I wasn't thinking about that. And that's when I started running it up. I ran it up another 5,000 RPMs and another 5,000 RPMs, and I finally just went ahead and hooked all the gears, all but 2 of them, back into dumping power back into the engine, because the engine only requires 1/4 of the power it makes to run it. And when it's running, it's making, generating electricity at the same time running that motor. So when I looked outside the door, the garage, and I saw the neighborhood dark. Something drew it to my attention, but the neighborhood had gone dark. And the only house that all the lights were glowing in was mine. And I decided it was time to shut it down to see what was going on. So I started slowing it down, just using a normal brake process to shut myself down. But it was way up there. I mean, it was beyond the label to read that. And I went out and I looked around, and there wasn't a light shining for anywhere in any direction that I could see. In at least 2, 3 blocks, maybe 4 square blocks, maybe a little bit more. I don't know. I know I blew out 2 of the great big ground transfers that were in the area. One was like about a quarter mile up front, and the one was about a quarter mile down. And they were melted down. That's what I was told when it came out. They said, well, we don't know what happened, but it must have been some kind of a dead short or a power overload. Or then they went around and read the meters, and they had to pay me money for that same time period on my meter. They had to give me money, and at the time, electric was a lot cheaper, and I usually had like a $200 electric bill, and they had to pay me $379 that month, and the next month there was a little bit more, because it was one day, part of the day was on one billing cycle, part was on the other billing cycle.
All right, now let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
In this whole New World Order bullshit energy scam that's going on, you need to I believe that's why flying saucers are so classified, because if people understood that you could put a motor in one of those little ships up there and have lunch on the moon, well, and not without any of the all of the ordeal and all of the burning of your money up with those space shuttles. If people realize that, well, the more optimistic of us, like Henry Ford said, would say there would be a revolution overnight. I don't think so.
Well, what was it called? The Manhattan Project, when they were supposedly making stuff to test nuclear weapons and stuff like that?
That's right. It happened right down there near my home in Bingham before they stole it.
Yeah, and they put a deal that they found out while they were messing with that on a ship to try to actually cloak a ship.
Yeah, that sent it back in time.
Yeah, the ship really did go back in time, and the people really were embedded in the holes in the deck of the ship. They just melted with the metal. I mean, it's a similar principle here with this. Once you get these things up to a certain amount of revolutions per minute, revolutions per second, there's a vortex that starts to form. And it was blue plasma in there, and when I saw the blue plasma and it started looking like it was coming through a 1/4-inch thick steel, hardened steel plate all the way around, it looked like that was starting to glow blue. It didn't have any heat detected on it. It was cold, blue plasma. And I'm like,
is this something that they refer to as cold fusion? Is it something in that neighborhood?
Well, it could be considered like cold fusion, because cold fusion is usually like using water and separating the hydrogen from the oxygen and not having any heat in the process of doing it. Now, that's also very possible to do right now. It's very, very simple to do. I mean, I was on the edge of doing it in, 1981. And I got messing with this motor instead, but I had a different system running underneath the hood of my cars, and I was getting, phenomenal gas mileage. And I made a mistake of bragging about it to a few people, and a few people told a few people, and the wrong people found out real quick. Because I worked for a corporation that built, cars and stuff. And, it's not the place to talk to people about what you're doing with the car, where you've got a car running and getting, 100+ miles to the gallon. I was basically separating and evaporating all the gasoline and turning it into total gas and all particles, and then igniting it in the cylinders and burning it, complete combustion. and you would take it down and take a wand and the wand up the tailpipe. There's no pollutants coming up the tailpipe. Now, I never went to the level of doing some other stuff that a personal friend of mine has done, but he started off in a different direction, went a different way.
Are you speaking of Paul Pantone?
No, I wouldn't speak to Paul Pantone about something like that. I mean, I know what he's doing, but that's not something he's doing. His is similar along the same lines and the same principles and fundamentals of trying to get rid of bad gas, old oils, or run your stuff on a can of soda pop, some water, and some I don't know, some urine, maybe some apple juice, or some vegetable oil. You put all that crap in there, and it'll run. Because the way it does is it breaks down the molecular structure of the particles, or whatever the liquid is that's in there, the particles, and it goes in the chamber and burns.
But I had just talked to this, here we go with this coincidence or synchronicity. Somebody was just talking to me yesterday, and I think I've got them scheduled for my show, about something they call P-power. P-power, and what they're doing is converting urine into hydrogen, and somehow it does it easily that way, easier than water.
Well, actually, you take the urine and a little bit of peroxide and some urine, and you put it into a chamber. Well, I've built one myself. Then you put kind of like an ionizer system to it, and the next thing you know, you're generating hydrogen gas. And all you've got is piss in the thing and a little bit of peroxide.
Think that could be the reason, because there is the technology to convert hydrogen or water into hydrogen. You think that's the reason they want to ban rain barrels? So they banned rain barrels in Colorado?
Oh, that's why they want to take control of all the water. They want to, I have a lot of land, and Obama flat out said that one of his plans was to get the government to get control over all mineral rights when it comes to the regards of the water and the aquifers in the ground.
That's what this whole thing is. They're trying to put that under the law of the sea. All the water running in. Yeah. And what they told us in Colorado was, well, somebody's already paid for that water, so you got to let it run down the hill, down to the creek, and down to the lake that they're going to, so they can generate power out of it.
No, when it rains out of the sky and it lands on your house, it's yours. So what you do is, if you've got rain barrels and you're collecting it, well, just don't be obvious about it. Dig a hole, stick a rain barrel in the ground, and get your water out of the rain barrel underground, and you take and put one of those little, spout things on there and makes it look like it's going to roll out, when it rains, and, they can't prove that it is or isn't doing its job. Hide your stuff. You're going to have to be smarter than the serpent, because the devil runs this thing. And all he's trying to do is get us into a corner where we got to bend over to him and then get on our knees and say, okay, we'll kiss your butt if you let us have a little bit of freedom again. That's what he's doing globally. And, that's why I'm trying to bring forth this motor system right now, so people can get them, and it will be priced where everybody, say a neighborhood wanted to get one, and they get it, and they know where the transformer is, so they put the thing in the center of the neighborhood, in somebody's garage, behind the washing machine or whatever, and let it sit there and run and dump the power out for the neighborhood. Because the neighbors are going to get it, it's not going to come from the transformers, it's going to come from the first supply of power. The nearest power supply. Now,
let me just stop here for a second. Because somebody I had on, I believe it was Friday, had been researching and investigating the Amish for 20, 30 years.
I listened to that program.
And I thought he was pretty good. I thought he was pretty interesting. But what he pointed out, somebody's house burns down, the Amish got together and rebuilt the house. They all chipped in a little bit.
The community or a nation anymore. We've become too individualized.
Well, that divide and conquer is the whole message that's on your TV. They want you alone on that motorcycle. They want you alone in that sports car. They want you alone in your internet. They want you they want to keep you afraid, so you don't actually go out in public and say any of the stuff you saw on the internet in public, because then somebody would laugh at you or call you names.
Call you conspiracy nut.
Conspiracy theory. Well, what part? You know, it's certainly not a conspiracy.
No, it's not. What it is it's a cover-up. The disinformation dumped all over the place. You got people giving true information. You got the government giving disinformation on anything true. And then you've got all the other stuff that's thrown in where there's people that just do it to get their rocks off. I mean, I can't stand people get their jollies off while trying to scaring people, like telling everybody El Niño was going to flip the earth upside down. That thing didn't have the mass to do it, number one. Number two, it didn't have any indications. Even though it did coincide with a few earthquakes that happened, it didn't happen. And when it crossed the elliptical plane of the earth, you know, on the 11th of September, you know, there was no blackness. You know, 3 days of darkness is supposed to happen. It's coming up here. Well, it would have already happened on the elliptical plane when it crossed the elliptical plane as the Earth orbits around the sun. What everybody don't understand is the way they were showing it on their daggum YouTube pages and screens is that they made it look like it came in around the orbit of the sun, just like our Earth orbits the sun. No, it was coming in at a different angle. It was coming in from below, and it came out from above. So you have a dark blue line, which is saying it's below the elliptical plane. You have a white spot where it's on the elliptical plane, and then you have a light blue line above. And that's how NASA does it. It lets you know where it's below and above. You know, what's below that, so it's like in the shadows down there in the bottom, and it's above. But there's still, you know, there's still Planet X out there. This was like a warning shot across our bow. After it went across the elliptical plane, they're not going to fly any of the debris of it, so everybody can quit worrying about that, because I've been studying astronomy and all these other fields of science and stuff like that for my lifetime. And I'm a 50-year-old man, you know? So ever since I was 12 years old and 10 years old, man, I started studying all this stuff because I loved it. And plus, I have a really high IQ. You know, I can comprehend things because I had dyslexia, and that made it harder for me, so I had a different way of looking at things while I read it, but I had a comprehension level that was through the roof. And they got me a tutor so I could spell right, and I could read out loud in school. And by the time I was out of junior high, I was out of college level at reading and comprehension, and when they tested me, I got up in the 180s on a verbal exam on the IQ, on the intelligent equivalency test.
You understand? You know that you probably couldn't become an officer because they told me that anybody with my IQ wouldn't follow orders. They would question orders.
Me either, and it can't hypnotize me either, and they tried, you know.
Yeah, I just spoke with somebody about that. It doesn't work on me either. I volunteered. I went over the stage, and out of 6 people, the hypnotist looked at me and goes, "Get off the stage."
Yeah. They were doing it in a room with a group of people. I went to the group thing to help them try to quit smoking cigarettes one time, and I was sitting there and I was watching all these people, and I was listening to the guy, you know, he said, "You came on whistleblowing, just go along with what I'm saying." I said, "Okay, so I'm going along with what he's saying, you know." I guess if somebody else opens up their eyes and looks, they won't see me sitting there looking at them like they're, you know, like they're a bunch of Looney Tunes. And, you know, I couldn't help it, you know. He walked around, he's pushing on people's arms, he pushed on my arm, you know, and it went down, you know, and he's like, "It's okay, you know." I'm like, you know, and he said it's okay to everybody, but, you know, my arm went down, you know, I was still squinting through my eyes looking. It just couldn't work on me. My mind's, I guess, well, it's like when I lay down at night, my mind is just going over 19 gazillion different probabilities and factors and configurations on this motor and stuff. And I've changed the original design of it to where it actually has more output of power. And it'll be really neat, you know, that way, because it's different than the original design, but it's the same layout. It's just an exchange of some fundamental parts inside. And I got a friend who's a electrical engineer. I got friends who are computer engineers. I got friends who work for, aviation and, and the skunk works and all that stuff. I got them working in the aerospace industry. And I got a person that helped make the MRI machines and make the big cones on the back of on the space shuttles and on the Apollo rockets. I mean, these are all the people I've associated with pretty much all my life. And they're guys with real high IQs and very smart guys, and they figure out the problems. The guys say we want to build this, and these guys build it. And I'm the same type of person. I got all the skilled trades, for doing it myself, because I invent things. I invented a lot of things. I invented a vortex system for General Motors cars. I gave them the first piece to it, and they were supposed to give me $20,000. And they didn't. So I didn't give them the last two parts. If they got the last two parts, everybody be running around cars getting 80 and 100 miles per gallon. I didn't give them the last two parts, but I put them in my own cars. And I ride around, and I don't have to worry about going to the gas station, once every month. In my new car, that it's just 400 horsepower, And I don't have a light foot because I like to drive race cars. I'm a road course racer. I love that. I mean,
let me go back. Now, what we originally started talking about was the plan for Liberty Village, and I'd love to have one of your motors sitting in powering one of Liberty Villages. Matter of fact, up on the Liberty Village website later on today, I'll be putting on a plan for a whole community, just like we talked about Liberty Villages, using houses that are made out of foam and made out of concrete, that are blown up. We blow them up. There's a form. Now we can get all of the equipment and everything to do these things for about $50,000. But once you get it, and this is already this is already in progress. It's already working. The company to build them is out of a little place called Italy, Texas.
Yeah, I know where that's at. The guy's got the big Caterpillar of dome homes built.
That's right. It's a dome homes. That's the monolithic homes. Now you put one of those big domes in the middle. You got the restaurant. You put another dome on the side, and you got the garden. And if you get off of I-35 Italy exit, he's got something that looks like the Starship Enterprise crashed in the ground made out of the domes. Yeah.
I mean, that's too cool,
Yeah. So. Even now I was thinking, while this guy was talking about the Amish coming, I'm thinking, well, what if we just, now this is perfect. And what we're trying to do here in Arizona with the sheriff is say, look, if you put some low-cost housing here, you put one of these blow-up domes here, that'll house 10 vets. Put the vets to work on your farm or your ranch. In other words, install make a Liberty Village that is protected, and your farm, you got to train, if you get the farm and the ranch, you donate 5 acres, and then you train the veterans to work the farm or work the ranch.
Right.
And this you can even get tax benefits from the Obama. Obama wants to give you a tax credit of $7,000 for hiring a veteran. You use that tax credit to build the things. Now you've got something that's working on the basis of every civilization. The self-sufficient family farm.
Set up some. You go out and set up some windmills, made out of 55-gallon barrels with 2 alternators on them, and you have them things out there spinning on the dark days when it's storming, and then on the sunny days you've got some of those solar panels the guy makes up in New York, I think it is, that you can shoot them with bullets, and the thing keeps on making energy. It doesn't destroy itself. You can roll roofing on the roof of your house and tie into it. And is it more cost effective, more energy effective, and they don't produce as much energy as the regular photovoltaic cells, but they do continue to produce energy even when they're damaged. So if you're in an area where you get bad storms and stuff like